Soon you will see a lot of Trinidadians joining in.
Welcome. All are welcome.
Yes, Haribo.
Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My dear god sister Ishwari Devi is battling her life and death, last few hours of her life, mostly. So today's Srimad Bhagavatam Katha will be spoken and heard as an offering to her, the loving offering. Hare Krishna. So last time we discussed about Gopa Ashtami, the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, 14th chapter. And Krishna was given the charge of big cows, and Krishna started going to far-off villages. And that's how it is explained that in one scripture it's explained that, of course in Bhagavatam, that Sri Krishna went to Govardhan as a first trip to big cows. And in the one Brijvasi Sampradaya, Radha Vallabh Sampradaya, it is explained that he went to Sanket one. Sometime we will discuss that pastime, what happened in Sanket when he went for the first time with big cows. So here, Vrindavan as such, even today, the geographical Vrindavan is quite far from Nandagaon, about 50 kilometers. So naturally, Krishna would not be going that far distance when he was a baby cow herder. But as he became Gopal, the cow herding boy of big cows, so he started going to far off places. So Shukadeva Goswami is now beautifully explaining, thus desiring to enjoy pastimes Lord Madhava, sounding his flute, surrounded by cowherd boys who were chanting his glories, and accompanied by Lord Baladeva, his dear brother, kept the cows before him and entered the Vrindavan forest, which are full of flowers, rich with nourishments for the animals to graze. Tan manju ghoshali mrugat dvijakulam mahan manaha prakhyapaya sarasvata vatena justam satapatra gandhina nirikshyatantu bhagavan manodadhe. It's explained here that Vrindavan forest, Sri Krishna looked over Vrindavan forest, which was resounded by charming sound of bees, animals, birds, which were enhanced by a lake, Sarasvataha, which was clear water, which resembled the mind of a yogi, a great soul. And the typical breeze, which is explained again and again. The breeze has three qualities. It is Manda, Sugandhit, and Shital. It is flowing very softly, not very harshly or fast. It is carrying the aroma of the lotus flower, and also it is cool because of the humidity of the layers of bashpa or vapors over Yamuna. So it is cool, it is fragrant, and it is soft. It is manda. It's very pleasant. The breeze carrying the fragrance of 100 petaled lotuses. That means every lotus that is seen there is minimum 100 petal. Shatadala or Sahasradala. Seeing all this, Lord Krishna decided to enjoy his auspicious pastimes over Vrindavan. Satatra tatra aruna pallavashriya Falaprasuno rubarena padayo Swasachikana vanaspatin muda swayam nivaha agrajamadi purushaha. The primeval Lord saw the stately trees. Now this is beautiful description coming about Vrindavan, especially about the trees. So what is Krishna watching? He is watching the stately tree, the royal trees, with their beautiful reddish buds and their heavy burden of fruits and flowers. They were bending down to touch the lotus feet with the tips of their branches. As I have explained before also, that Brinda Devi is such an amazing organizer, such a spiritual, subtle and detailed organizer, that when we have a drama in temple, we train men and women and boys and girls. But Brinda Devi trains birds, trees, bees. You can name all small to big size birds and trees and animals. She trains them. She even trains the trees. And the trees are trained to come down humbly, laden with flowers, and bow down to the lotus feet of the Lord, touch his toenails, offer Dandavat Pranam. So Krishna saw, and he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he also knows that every tree is trying to bow down to me. And whatever they have, they are ready to offer to me. But just see how Krishna is. He is simply transferring that glory which is coming to him, to his brother. So Krishna smiled gently and addressed his older brother, Balaram. See, Bhagavana uvacha. Aho ami deva varamararchitam padam bhujam te sumana phalaharnam. That means, oh my dear brother, Rama ararchitaha. What is saying that? These trees are architaha, they are worshipping you. Aho, oh my dear brother, oh greatest of all the lords, he is saying. Just see how these trees are bowing their heads at your lotus feet, which are worshipable by immortal demigods. The trees are offering their fruits and flowers to eradicate the dark ignorance that has caused their birth as trees. This is also an important statement, that the trees are trees because of some past connections. Of course, most trees in Vrindavan are sadhus, rishis and munis who have decided and chosen to be trees to meditate and worship. But some trees definitely are, due to their bad karmas, they are unable to move and taken the birth of trees. So knowing that their birth is because of past sinful activities, now they are offering their fruits and flowers to the Supreme Lord to get freed from that bondage of Padapa. Padapa means the living entities which eat from their legs. That is the trees. They take their nourishment from their feet. And Krishna now here goes on glorifying the trees and the Supreme Lord Balramji. Oh, original personality, my brother Balaram. The bees, now Krishna is describing the glory of Vrindavan. The bees must be all great sages and most elevated devotees of yours. Again, glorifying the sages and Balram both. Because they are worshipping you by following you along the path and chanting your glories. That means Krishna Balaram are walking and the bees are also walking just behind his beautiful lotus feet, traversing the path, So Krishna is interpreting in a very beautiful way, saying that one, they must be great sages, and second, they are just running behind your feet. They are running behind your feet. Gayanta adi purushartha anupantha bhajante prayo ami munagana bhavadiya mukhya gudam vanepina jahati anagatma daivam. He is addressing Balramji as Anagha. And Anaga has many meanings. Anaga means sinless. Oh, sinless one. Also, Anaga means as soon as you meet him, your sins are vanished. Eradicates all the sins. He is himself sinless, but like sadhus, like Guru Maharaj, the moment you see him, you lose all your impious activities, impious credits. So these bees are chanting and following you, which are themselves a holy place for the entire world. What is holy place in the entire world? Your lotus feet are the holy place for the entire world. Though you have disguised yourself as a simpleton boy in this forest, O Anagha, O sinless one, they refuse to abandon you because they know you who you are, O worshipable Lord. Then there is next verse which says, O worshipable one, these peacocks are dancing before you out of joy. These does are trying to please you with their affectionate glances. Just as gopis do, these cuckoos are honoring you with Vedic prayers. All these residents of forest are most fortunate, and their behavior towards you certainly befits great souls receiving another great soul at home. So Krishna is doing wholesale glorification. Glorification of the Bhumi, glorification of all inhabitants of the Bhumi, that birds and peacocks and does and deers, and glorification of his brother, at the same time offering the glory which is coming to him, to his brother. The earth has now become very fortunate because you have touched her grass and bushes with your lotus feet, and her trees and the creepers with your fingernails. And because you have graced his rivers, mountains, birds and animals with your merciful glances. That means Balaram also is now not just irresponsive, passively walking. He is also very responsive to each and every personality, every bird or creeper or animal in giving his response. With your merciful glances, and above all, you have embraced the young coward women between your two arms, a favor hankered after by goddess of fortune herself. So, all kinds of mercy that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna and Balaram are offering to Brajbasis in different forms are explained over here. And then Shukadeva Goswami says, Evam Vrindavanam Srimat Krishnaha Pritamanaha Pashun. Shukadeva Goswami said, thus expressing his satisfaction with this beautiful forest of Vrindavan and the inhabitants and his brother, Lord Krishna enjoyed tending cows and other animals. This I also told you many times. He didn't herd only cows. He was herding cows and many other animals like deers, rabbits, buffaloes, and everybody else. And his friends also along with that. On the banks of river Jamuna, below Govardhan Hill, in the land of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Now what are they doing? This is important. What are they doing during herding cows? Kochit gayati gayatsu madanda alishvate anuvratai. Many beautiful shlokas. Upagiyamana charitaha pantihi sankarshananvitaha. Long translation. Sometimes the honeybees of Vrindavan become so mad with ecstasy that they close their eyes and began to sing. Now honeybees' eyes, who have seen honeybees' eyes here? Anybody has seen honeybees' eyes? But Shukadeva Goswami is beautifully explaining. That is the beauty of Vrindavan. Vrindavan is not gross. Vrindavan is very subtle. And the devotees are also very subtle. Sukshma Indriyai. Lord Krishna, moving along with the forest path with his coward boyfriends and Baladev, would then respond to the bees by imitating their singing while his friends sang about his pastime. See, when Sri Krishna is walking, Balaram is walking, all the birds are chirping. Cuckoos, peacocks, Rajahamsas, the cranes, Chakravaka, and all the birds are chirping. All the living entities are in ecstasy. The trees are bowing down, the creepers are bowing down, flowers are being shed by them. Some trees are shivering in ecstasy, and thus they shed and shower the flowers on Sri Krishna, on his head and his lotus feet. It is explained that Sri Krishna, in a very boyish mood, making sounds of all those animals and all the birds and all the bees. So it sounds like a very childish, playful activity. But in divine sense, Krishna is reciprocating with each and every living entity, to the birds, to the bees, to everybody. So when a child feels, oh, how wonderfully he is imitating all the birds. But actually, he is responding to each and every devotee who is or who are expressing their devotion to him. To the extent, please listen, my devotee, dear devotees, to the extent the grass, the blades of grass are trying to become as soft as possible to give softest pleasure to the lotus feet of Krishna. And Krishna also very consciously is touching them with his bare lotus feet. That is the way he responds to them. Through sound, he responds to the birds. Through his glances, he responds to the animals and the trees who are showering flowers. So it is said Krishna was expertly responding to each and every living entity just by a simple activity like walking in the forest. Just walking, not doing any chivalrous activity. The simple walking, his five senses, his tvacha, his eyes, his legs, his hands, everything was engaged in responding to the every single devotee's loving gesture towards him. Now let's go on. Then he was responding to the bees by imitating their sound. Sometimes Lord Krishna would imitate chattering of a parrot. Sometimes with a sweet voice, the call of a cuckoo. Sometimes the cooing of swans, Rajahamsas. Sometimes he vigorously imitated the dancing of a peacock, making his coward boyfriends laugh. So it's an entertainment, joking atmosphere for the coward friends, but it is a loving response to the peacocks. Sometimes with a voice as deep as rumbling clouds, he would call out with great affection the names of the animals who would have wandered far away from the herd, thus enchanting the cows and the coward boys. This is Krishna. Super sensual personality of Godhead. Super sensual powers. Chakora krauncha chakravaka bharadvajamsha barihnaha. Sometimes he would cry out in imitation. Birds such as chakoras, kraunchas, chakravakas, bharadvajas, peacocks. And sometimes he would run away from the smaller animal in mock of fear of lions and tigers. That means sometimes he would act as if he's fearful and running away from tigers and lions, while there are small baby animals are walking around him. Fortunately, we have seen these birds in Vrindavan. Krauncha Pakshi, Chakravaka Pakshi, Bharadwaja Pakshi also, very divine birds. They live in Vrindavan, not to be seen in city atmospheres. When his elder brother, what they would do when they would play, when his elder brother would be fatigued while playing, he would lie down with his head in Krishna's lap. And Lord Krishna would help him relax by personally massaging his feet and offering other services. That means sometimes Balaram would sleep with his head in the lap of a coward boy. Krishna would run and massage his feet, express his love and affection and respect for him. And when Krishna would get tired, then he would put his head in somebody's lap. Then what he would do? Sometimes the coward boys danced, sang, moved about, playfully, fought with each other, fought with Krishna Balaram, standing nearby in hand, he would glorify their friends' activities and laugh like anything. Sometimes Lord Krishna grew tired and from fighting and lay down at the base of the tree, resting upon the bed made by the soft twigs and buds and using the lap of the coward boy as a pillow. Then some of the coward boys who were great souls would then massage the lotus feet of Krishna. And others qualified by being free of all sin would expertly fan the Lord and make him comfortable. Aniye tad anurupani manodjnani mahatmanaha. My dear king, other boys, Anni, would sing enchanting songs appropriate for the occasion, and their hearts would melt out of love for the Lord. It was an intense affair, just walking in the forest of Vrindavan with cows. In this way, Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose soft lotus feet are personally attended by the goddess of fortune, concealed his transcendental opulences by his internal potency, acted like the son of coward, yet even while enjoying like a village boy, in the company of other village residents, he often exhibited feats of God that could perform. So now, I would explain a small point to you. concealed his transcendental opulences by his internal potency. That is the first prerequisite to take birth in Vrindavan Dham as a Brajvasi. What would Krishna do if somebody qualifies to become a resident of Vrindavan Dham, Brajbhumi, by all tapasyas of many lifetimes? Then Sri Krishna first thing would steal the knowledge of those souls. And what is that knowledge? That he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. That realization he will steal from them with the help of his Jagan Mohini Maya. The Jagan Mohini Maya is mentioned when Krishna Balaram went to meet his father and mother in Mathura, Vasudeva and Devaki. There is mentioned there. Name is not mentioned in this verse here. But all the Brajvasis who are today also there, they hardly believe that he is Lord. They just think he's my son, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, whatever their casual relationship are, common relationship are. And that awe and reverence with the Mathura Vasis, Dwarka Vasis have, these Brajvasis don't have. And that's what Krishna wanted. He didn't want to carry his aura with him in Vrindavan Dham. He didn't want them to, worship him and glorify him and, adore him. He wanted to play with them. He wanted to get chastised. He wanted to steal things. He wanted them to climb on his head. He wanted them to punish him. He wanted to live a very simple life. And that's the need of a great personality, to be just what he or she is. Sometimes as great and big you become, you lose your original personality, because you can't just be what you want to be. People don't allow you to be what you want to be because they want to just worship you all the time, follow you, take your pictures and become paparazzi behind you, take your pictures all the time and note you and locate you and find you and post you with social media. So Sri Krishna, to fulfill that desire, steals that knowledge which they have realized after long tapasya in previous lifetimes, that he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. That knowledge itself he steals. And then they become eligible to take part in Braj pastimes. And it is mentioned here, in between he exhibits his godly activity. Suddenly he exhibits by lifting Govardhan. But then what happens? Again he covers them with Madhurya. He exhibits Aishwarya and then he covers them with Madhurya. And what is Madhurya? They forget, oh really? You think he's Supreme Personality of Godhead? Or he's a Rishi or a demigod or a Muni or a Siddha? No, just see. When the thunder is in the sky, he comes running in the lap of his mother. He's a Rishi? Oh no. When he's hungry, he goes and pinches the children, puts water in the ears of the small babies. So how can he be Siddha? How can he be demigod? How can he be Rishi? They're not like so uncontrollable and so cheap and so naughty as he is. They're not thieves. Great souls don't go and thieve butter and yogurt and in the houses of cowherd men and women. So Aishwarya is, he has lifted Govardhan. Madhurya is, they don't believe that he is great soul. Aishwarya is that Mata Aishwarya is started worshipping him, immediately looking at the universes in his mouth. But Madhurya is, she just stopped and she took him to the breast and started giving him breast milk immediately. As soon as he closed his mouth, she forgot everything, whatever she saw inside. Whatever awe and reverence she developed for a while, she just forgot everything, that she was having that awe and reverence for her own son, who could be Lord, and she was started worshipping him also. So it is said that sometimes in between a bubble pops up in the ocean of the nectarian ocean of love of Brajbhumi, the bubble pops up of Aishwarya. And immediately the bubble is broken and nobody remembers the bubble was ever there. Bubble is remembered only when it exists. When it is broken, no one remembers the bubble. They only remember the ocean. That is the situation of the Brajbhumi. So the next verse, now after glorifying his brother enough, after glorifying Vrindavan Dham, everybody in Vrindavan Dham, and appreciating that, what is it teaching us? When we go to Vrindavan, please just don't travel from one place to another. Okay, you took a vehicle from Vrindavan and traveling to Barsana now. So you're just either sleeping or talking something. Appreciate everything that comes on your way. The greenery, the trees, the huge trees, the flowers, the fragrance, every single thing that is there in Vrindavan Dham, even today, it is said, please understand, it is said that even if you gaze at Vrindavan Dham, the bhumi, the paddies, the rice and the wheat fields, even if you gaze with love, you receive Krishna Prem just by looking at the land of Vrindavan with love of your heart. Imagine. So why should we lose any single moment in Vrindavan Dham while we are traveling from one place to another? Why not look around? Why not look at peacocks, monkeys, and cuckoos and green? And I have seen kingfishers and Rajahamsas and Chakravakas and Bharadwajas. Why don't you keep just looking at them, appreciating those simple natural beauty which is not available to be seen in cities like where we are living? That means we are expected to be cognizant, to be aware, to be alert in our consciousness while we are in Vrindavan. All your senses have to be alert, not sleeping or not engaged in some other activities like city. And that is real Brijvas. Brijvas doesn't mean that you just go from one place to another, offer dandavats and donations and go away. Brijvas means to appreciate and absorb each and every vibration of Sri Vrindavan Dham to each and every of your senses, subtle and gross. And as you chant Hare Krishna and perform sadhana and purify yourself, your senses become sharp and alert more and more than before, because they are more and more purer. The purer they are, more receptive and alert and aware you become to appreciate the subtlest of glory of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Even to the mortal naked eye, we have something special in Vrindavan to see and to gaze at. Now, there are three coward boys, Sridama, Sloka Krishna, and one more, Subal. Subal is known for two things. Subala is very strong, and Subal is also known for looking like Radharani. And Sridama is the most dear coward boy friend of Krishna because of blessings of Narad Muni at the time of birth of Radharani. And Sloka Krishna is another friend. And they were the ones who actually instigated Krishna to go to Krishna and Balaram to enter Talavan. They are saying, do you know something? We always pass by here and we get the sweet aroma of these palm fruits. And these palm fruits are so attractive just by their smell. And we are so tempted to eat by their fragrance. But what to do, my dear Krishna? There is one demon called Dhenukasur, and we have seen him eating men alive. So we are so scared. They don't let anybody come in. This is the forest maintained by Kamsa in the supervision of this demon called Dhenukasur, is so powerful, who lives there with so many of his friends who are also donkeys, asses. So he and his friends, they don't eat these fruits because they are donkeys. But being a demon, they eat men alive that we have seen. Meat animals alive. And they send all the best of the fruits to Kamsa. So this is Kamsa's private grove. Oh dear Krishna Balaram, would we get a chance to go in and eat those fruits? Would you arrange for us? Oh Balaram, oh Krishna, we have seen you. You're so powerful. You have been killing so many huge demons. You can easily kill Dhenukasur and free this particular forest for all of the people to enjoy. This is what we are reading from Bhagavatam. But when an Acharya who has a pure sense, he has pure senses, how does he perceive? They read in between the lines of Bhagavatam. And how they interpret? What is Vishwanath Chakravarti Path saying? He's saying, actually speaking, the coward boys wanted Krishna Balaram to relish those fruits. But if they would say, Krishna Balaram, why don't you go and eat those fruits? Krishna Balaram would not be interested. But if they say, we want to eat because Krishna loves them, Krishna will choose to go there. It's like how the children, when you tell children, don't do this, they'll go and exactly do that only. And when you tell, do this, then they will exactly go and do opposite things. That is children's nature. So if you tell Krishna and Balaram, we would like you to eat those fruits, then they will say, no, we'll go somewhere else. For themselves, Krishna and Balaram are not interested. But when his friends are telling, we want to eat, we are enamored, we are hungry, we are tempted, then for the pleasure of his devotees, he will do. And in the process, he will eat and coward boys will be happy. So you can see the competition between Krishna and Balaram to please his friends and his friends trying to please Krishna and Balaram. These are eternal competitions between devotees and the Lord. The Lord is trying to please his devotees and the devotee is trying to please his Lord. So then, this is how it begins. Our Danavir Goswami Maharaj explains that a palm tree is a very variegated tree. And there are variegated types of palm trees. One palm tree gives nipa fruit. One palm tree gives dates also. It's a variety of palm fruit, palm tree only. So another palm tree gives dates. Another gives coconut also. Another gives red palm fruit. And another one gives very delicious pindo palm fruit. So these kinds of different kinds of palm fruits are there. And as we will go, we will understand that these fruits which are described over here are very big in size. Why, I'll tell you later on. So they told Balaram that we want to eat these fruits and you are most powerful. So it is said that the coward boys did not dare to enter and Balaram alone entered first. And they were a little bit behind. They were not sure what's going to happen. So Balaram entered inside and then Balaram started shaking the palm trees, tala trees, which is full with tala fruits. And why I said that the fruits are very big, because when the fruits fell down, they made huge sounds. Now today, Talgoda that you and me buy in national park or somewhere, when it falls down, it doesn't make so big sound. It's a very small fruit. But what are we talking here about is very big fruit. And when the fruits fell down from the trees by shaking of Balaramji, this Dhenukasur was taking his midday nap, afternoon Vamakukshi. He was sleeping in the afternoon. And imagine the sound was so large that his sleep got disturbed. And he woke up. He woke up not because somebody was taking his fruits away and not that he wanted to eat the fruits. He came because of the pride that how dare you come in the area which I control. How dare you? How are you not fearful of me? I expect you. I'm so dangerous man. I'm dangerous personality that you are supposed to be fearful of me. And how dare you, without being fearful, coming in my area and shaking my trees and making the fruits fall down and eating the fruits? As soon as the fruits fell down, the boys ran. They were so fearless now because Balaram is there. And very soon in front of their eyes, that big demon, Dhenukasur, in the form of jackass, came in front. The sound of falling disturbed the midday nap of Dhenuka, made him angry. And then he came running. Now there are 30 different steps. Please listen, oh dear devotees, carefully, exactly what happened in this pastime. Srimad Bhagavatam, it does not describe all 30 steps like that. Few steps of 30 steps are in Bhagavatam. For all detailed 30 steps are there in Garga Samhita. In detail, because naturally we know Shukdev Maharaj did not have so much time to describe every detail because Parikshit Maharaj had limited time. So Dhenukasur kicked Balaram with his hind legs on chest. What is expected? Balaram should tumble down far distance, but Balaram did not move. Balaram chased Dhenukasur and caught his hind legs and threw him strategically on one of the tal trees, huge palm trees. And many tal trees fell because of the weight of this demon. That tree fell down and that tree fell down and another, and lines of trees fell down. Why? Balaramji wanted all the coward boys to have easy access to all the fruits. So who will go on checking each and every tree? Do one activity where all multiple results are achieved. So then again Dhenukasur stood up and angry and grabbed Balaram. And Balaram grabbed him and threw him over 8 miles. It is explained 1 yojana. 1 yojana means 8 miles. There, after throwing 8 miles long, Dhenukasur fell on the ground, became wounded and unconscious. Then he woke up. He came to consciousness. And in anger, he exhibited a terrible form which had 4 deadly horns. Now, if you remember donkeys, Do they have horns? Have you seen them having horns? No. But Dhenuka was a very mystic personality. In his mystic power, he created a very horrible looking form with horrible looking horns, 4 horns on his head. Looking at that, all the Gopas, the boys ran away. They were so fearful. Angry, Sridama hit Dhenukasur with a stick. Now, all of them don't run away. Some of them are already trained by Yashoda Maya, by preaching, by counseling, by preparing them, by inducting them. So they are special ones. They don't run away. Others are running away. Then Subal, the next one, hit him with the fist because he was very strong. Stoka Krishna whipped him with a rope. He had a rope in the hand. He used as a whip and whipped him. Arjun and Amshu, these are the parts of Ashtasaka. Threw him far away, lifted him and threw him far away. That means they were also quite strong. They were not simple boys. Maybe Balram lifted alone and threw him away, but these boys, maybe 10 of them can lift them alone. That's possible. But 2 of them are lifting and throwing him away. Then Vishal and Rishabh, other 2 are Ashtasakas, kicked the demon with their legs. Tejasvi, another Ashtasaka, tried to strangle Dhenukasur at the neck. Then Devaprastha slapped Dhenukasur. Now Devaprastha ke bare mein, there is a beautiful explanation over here. Devaprastha, these are all 8 sakhas. Let us read their names again. Sridama, Subal, Stoka Krishna, Arjun, Amshu, Vishal, Rishabh, Tejasvi and Devaprastha. 2 of them were born to each coward boy, that is brother of Nanda Maharaj. So each coward brother of Nanda Maharaj had 2 sons. So 4 of them had 8 sons and they were Ashtasakas. And Nanda Maharaj himself had 2 children, Krishna and Balram. So 2 of them had 8 sakas, total they were 10. So Devaprastha was most affectionate of 8 to Krishna. He was very strong, very scholarly, and he would wear a white dress. He would tie his hair with into a bunch by a rope, like how many women sometimes tie their hair with a napkin or handkerchief. So he would tie them with a rope, with a dori. And in fights with demon, whenever there would be demon attacking, the first one to attack with Krishna is Devaprastha. First one to come to help and rescue. Out of affection, he is the one who is looking forward always to massage Krishna's feet. And the last Ashtasaka is Varutapa. And Varutapa hit Dhenukasur with a ball. Now that ball, which is supposed to be a playful ball, but he can hit the ball so hard that it will really cause so much pain to the demon. Now, when all these coward boys did their job of attacking Dhenukasur, Krishna grabbed Dhenukasur with his 2 hands and whirled him in the sky. And Krishna threw him over Govardhan. That means this pastime was taking place very near Govardhan. Where this pastime is taking place? It is pastime is taking place in Talavan. And where is Talavan today? It is said it is 1 yojana away from Mathura. It is near Madhuban. It is near Kumudvan. And that is all very near to, even today also, to Govardhan. So he grabbed him and threw him over Govardhan. Then because of that blow, Dhenukasur became unconscious for 1 full hour. Then he woke up and grabbed Krishna with his horns and took him in the sky. Can you imagine how much high Dhenukasur lifted Krishna? Dhenukasur lifted Krishna for 800,000 miles in the sky. 8 yojanas in the sky. When they reached at the level of 8 laksha yojanas, 8 laksha miles, 800,000 miles, Krishna grabbed him in the sky and from 800,000 miles height, Krishna threw him on the ground. And when he fell down on the ground, his all bones were broken. And he again fell unconscious. He again rose and he roared. Now see, my friends, when he roared, my dear devotees, he's roaring. And we are expected to be alive with the roar. He's roaring. And what happened to the roar? When he roared, the earth trembled. And all the living entities, 14 planets, shook in fear. So, what he did out of anger? Now see the strength of Dhenukasura. He lifted Govardhan mountain. He uprooted the mountain from the ground and threw it to Krishna. Krishna caught it like a ball and threw it over again on his head. Again he caught and threw it on Krishna. Again Krishna caught and threw the mountain in its place. So 2 times back and forth Govardhan was thrown up and down. So Acharya is explaining how much trouble Govardhan must have gone through. Suppose someone lifts you and me, and uses us as a weapon to kill the enemy, and the enemy catches you, he throws on the other enemy catches you, again throws back. How much pain you must be going through. So Acharya explained that devotees like Govardhan are always ready to get used by Krishna and to go through all the troubles. Now everybody is enjoying under the Govardhan, and who is suffering? Only in Govardhan is suffering the torrential rain that Indra is throwing. What is it called as? Musal Dhar Varsha. One drop is like a musal. How heavy it must be. And continuous 7 days and 7 nights they were pouring on the head of Govardhan while everybody was sheltered under Govardhan. So Govardhan is ready to suffer for Krishna if that gives pleasure to Krishna. So finally at the 4th time Krishna put it back in his place. Then he broke the ground with his horns and charged at Balram. He left Krishna and charged at Balram. And he kicked Balram and roared. That time universe echoed and earth shook. So constantly is roaring and constantly is digging the earth and constantly attacking. Balram grabbed him and threw him on the ground. And this time the head of Dhenukasura was broken. Before all bones were broken, now head is broken. Then Balram finally punched him with the fist. And with that one punch, Tena mushti praharena sadhyav vai nidanam gataha. Dhenukasura died at once with the blow of the punch of Balaram. And demigods showered flowers from Nandanvana of Indra's abode. Now my dear devotees, hold your heart and listen what happened. Till now there is a fight going on. Dhenukasura is giving a good fight to Krishna and Balaram. Balaram finally kills him. Some of you may be wondering why Krishna did not kill him, why Balaram killed him. Any idea? Because I'll tell the story to you a little later on. Suddenly when he dropped dead, after all this bloody mess that was created by breaking the bones and head breaking, head injury, you can imagine how ghastly scene it would be. Suddenly that ghastly scene turned into a divine scene. Out came from the dead Dhenukasura, splendid, handsome and dark form wearing pitambar and vanmala. That beautiful personality emerged out of that dead Dhenukasura. And lo and behold, for adding more surprise, a Vimana appeared, aeroplane. It had 100,000 Vishnudutas who were wearing pitambar, holding Shankar Chakra Padmagata in their 4 hands and wearing a helmet which was very attractive, dazzling like hundreds of suns. There were not 4 Vishnudutas, there were 100,000 Vishnudutas. That Vimana is also described, it had 1,000 flags. It had 1,000 wheels. It was pulled by 10,000 horses. It had 100,000 chamaras, the whisks, golden-handled whisks, hanging out everywhere, which were yellow-colored and studded with jewels. What is that studded with jewels? The chamaras. And the size of the chariot was 8 miles long. And it was traveling with the speed of the mind. That chariot appeared there. It was decorated with unlimited bells and ornaments that were hanging on that dazzling chariot coming from the spiritual world. The blue personality did circumambulation to Krishna and Balaram. And while he was doing his pradakshina to Krishna and Balaram, he was shedding light in all 10 directions. He was lightening the whole heavenly planets by his walking effulgence. His effulgence filled all directions. He ascended the chariot very gracefully with the welcoming of all the 100,000 Vishnu Dutas. And he went to Goloka, offering Dandavat Pranam to everybody. Can you imagine this? So Acharya explained that Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu Name Dveshtosti Na Priyaha Ye Bhajanti Tumam Bhaktya Maite Teshu Chapya Aham. What does that mean? That Krishna is not partial to devotees or partial to demigods or partial to anybody. Whoever does service to him, he will accept that person as his own. He will become his property. He will make that person his own property, and he will love him. He is in me, he is mine, he is my friend. And I do not differentiate with anybody, my demon or deity. So what devotional service this demon must have performed to regain this form of spiritual world and go to Goloka? The understanding is that he gave a very good fight and pleased Krishna. Because Krishna doesn't have a fighting opportunity in Golok Vrindavan. So some of his devotees only come down and really make him enjoy or relish the fighting. So he gave a very wonderful fight. And that's why he became Golokavasi. Now, Krishna was surrounded by Balramji, cows, boys. They were all glorifying him. The demigods were shouting flowers over them. At that time, this story, when it was narrated by Narad Muni to King Bahulashva. Bahulashva is the king of Mithila. He is hearing the katha. Suddenly he says, who was this particular demon? And how did he achieve that great form? Narad Muni started explaining that previously this ass demon was a beautiful person. His name was Sahasik. Sahasik. And Sahasik was the son of Virochan. And Sahasik was the son of Virochan. Who is Virochan? Son of Prahlad Maharaj. And he was very strong, very powerful. And one time he was enjoying with 1,000 beautiful celestial women near Gandhamadana mountain. Now this Gandhamadana mountain or Trikuta mountain or Sumeru mountain are heavenly places on earth. The demigods, they own these areas. And they come down to earth to enjoy with their girlfriends in this area. So Sahasik had conquered all the demigods. So by force he had captured all these places which demigods owned. And with demigods, and these have own women, ornamented and decorated and makeup, very beautiful makeup, fragrances, ointments they had put up. They were intoxicated and they were all enjoying in that area of Gandhamadana mountain. Naturally, when there is enjoyment without God consciousness, there has to be two things, women and wine, ladies and intoxicants. So naturally puffed up with the pride that I have conquered demigods and I am now having so many women, I have such atmosphere, everything is mine, let me enjoy. So they were all intoxicated and they were enjoying, they were playing musical instruments, they were making laughter and giggling, how these things are happening, especially when men and women are together. But please understand, in the material world, whenever you think you are at the top of your enjoyment, now I am really deservedly enjoying. Now whatever I'm enjoying is what I deserve, what I have earned, is my legitimate right. And I'll just now enjoy unlimitedly. Something goes wrong. Totally being unaware of the situation. Things go definitely wrong. Manigriva and Nalakuvera also were enjoying in Mandakini river, in the celestial atmosphere with beautiful ladies. They were naked and intoxicated women. He was naked. They both were naked. And they were enjoying. They thought, what will happen? And suddenly what happens? Narad Muni happens to walk by. Everything is in mess. All your so-called enjoyment is destroyed. So in the material world, whether you are in heaven or in the earthly planet, happiness is never guaranteed to be continuous. It is always subjected to interruption. You cannot be in illusion. Now I will go on enjoying. It never happens like that. So still they don't know what's happening. But somebody is getting disturbed by their noise. And that somebody happens to be none other than Durvasa Muni. And that Durvasa Muni is sitting inside a deep, secluded cave inside the Gandhamadana mountain. And he is disturbed with that sound. We have to be always careful when we make noise. Because our noise is always disturbing somebody who is a peace lover. Like people are playing Holi, they are playing, now Govinda will come, Janmashtami. And what they do is first they put loud music. So everybody who's not playing Govinda also is disturbed. Everybody who's not playing Holi also is completely disturbed with the sound that they are creating. And instead of blessings, they get curses because they are getting disturbed. Some old people may get heart attack. They may get sleepless night. Some babies who are handicapped, they may wake up with some fearful situation. So Durvasa Muni got disturbed in his meditation. And you know what happened? He came out. Now he is not anymore able to perform his meditation because he has gone to the mountain cave to have a peaceful atmosphere. But unfortunately, that peaceful area, atmosphere, somebody has come in the atmosphere and disturbed the peace of the atmosphere. So he just came out. And how he was looking, please listen carefully, how he was looking. He had a very thin body. He had a very long beard. He had wooden sandals, that's called khadau. He was holding a stick in the hand of a sannyasi. He was glowing with the flames of anger that he was carrying within him. His anger was glowing like lightning. And he left the cave and came to see from where the noise is coming. My dear friend, now lo and behold, what's happening? One guy is with 1,000 women, intoxicated, completely lost in the enjoyment. He doesn't even know what's happening. And this thin old man comes with blazing eyes. And he says, you fool, uttishta gardhavakara, uttishta gardhava akara, gardhavo bhava durmate. O durmate, O fool, O one whose intelligence is lost, O one who is degraded in his mind, durmate. I curse you that you are enjoying like donkey, become donkey. Accept the akara, body of Gardhava and become Gardhava. Immediately that beautiful body that Sahasik had, the attractive body, otherwise why there would be 1,000 women with him if he's not attractive? They were not with Durvasa Muni, but they were with him. That means he had very beautiful, attractive, handsome body. And he was a conqueror, so he was glorious also by his chivalry. Immediately that beautiful body in front of those 1,000 women became of a donkey. How do you think he must have felt? So embarrassing, so insulting, So immediately he fell at the feet of Durvasa Muni. Oh my Durvasa Muni, please forgive me. I was ignorant. I was a fool. I was intoxicated. I didn't understand what I was doing. I could not imagine that you could be here. Please forgive me. So, this kind of humility also impresses these people who are great sages. So immediately he said, after 400,000 years of being a donkey, you will be delivered by Balaram. And that's how he was delivered. But in between, 400,000 years are not small number of years. It's a long period of time. So this is the price that you pay for little enjoyment in the material world. I don't think he was enjoying for 400,000 years with the 1,000 women that he was carrying. He enjoyed for a few minutes maybe. And whatever that titillating enjoyment he had, the result was 400,000 years of a donkey life. And what is donkey life? I've seen when I was in one time in Bhukampa, earthquake relief services in Kutch area in Gujarat in 2001. And we were staying in the tents because all the buildings were shaking because of earthquake. And whole day we would serve the suffering people, the victims of the earthquake. And night time we would sleep on the road in the tents. And we would be awake all the night because all the donkeys used to be always loitering around. And then thop, thop, thop in between. Thop, thop, thop. What is that thop, thop, thop? The she donkey is kicking very hard on the mouth, on the face of the he donkey. And he donkey is again going behind, calling her, calling her. Again, she's kicking with hind legs. Those hind kicks of a donkey are very bad, very harmful. And she's kicking right on the face of the male donkey. And still he is whole night going, and early morning she will allow him to enjoy with him. So much suffering and such little enjoyment. So this kind of life he lived for 400,000 years. So what we learn from this? Women, intoxication, pride, anger finally lead to ultimate degradation and suffering. And then heavenly pleasures also, even if you think you become the richest man on earth and you have now something like imitating heavenly pleasures, all these so-called pleasures separate from God can end up in most abominable situations, like the one of Dhenukasur, Sahasika. Our enjoyments can be a disturbance to someone powerful, and the result will be disastrous. We may think I'm enjoying. There's some powerful person there who may get disturbed by your enjoyment, and lene ke dene pad jayenge. You will suffer the unbelievable consequence. Why Krishna did not kill Dhanuka? The answer is that when Krishna became Narasimha Bhagavan, he promised Prahlad, your 21 generations, 10 before you, 1 yours, and 10 next to you will be protected by me, and they will all be delivered. So, Prahlad Maharaj gave birth to Virochan, and Virochan gave birth to Sahasika. And this Sahasika became proud because anyway he was demon, and he committed offense, and he became a donkey. But Krishna had remembered his promise, so he sent Balaram. He put Balaram in front. Krishna fought with him, but killing was done by Balaram. So killing also was achieved, and promise also was achieved. Both things were simultaneously achieved. Govardhan was thrown here and there. All pure devotees are ready to be used by Krishna anyhow they want, anyhow Krishna wants. So if you want to become pure devotees, my dear devotees, please be ready. Let Krishna use you the way he wants. He can use you as a football. He can use you as a weapon to throw on his demoniac enemies. He can do anything. But finally, that devotee will be blessed by Lord. That devotee was given a position on the head of Krishna, lying on the fingertip, and all the atrocities. Why Govardhan was able to bear? Because Krishna's fingertip of left hand was giving him all the pleasure, all the energy, all the relief, much more than what suffering so-called he was going through by the attack of Samvartaka clouds. So, if you are with Krishna, then any amount of pain will not be felt by you. And if you are averse to Krishna or forgetful of Krishna and you are enjoying heavenly pleasures, instantly you will be degraded to a most abominable situation for long, long time. See the contrast. Pleasures without Krishna, little time, lead to long, long sufferings. And pains with Krishna, we don't feel the pain with Krishna by his mercy. Pains will be there, but you will not feel the pains, and you will be blissful for a long time, and you will achieve the mercy of Krishna for bearing the pain with gratitude in the heart. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Today's Katha session is as an offering to my dear sister, my dear God sister, Her Grace Ishwari Devi. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, ask.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for a wonderful class as usual.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Prabhuji. Is there any questions? You can post it here, or you can raise your hands and
You can ask.
you can unmute it.
Please ask.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Who's that? Today we have many guests from Trinidad.
Oh, okay, Prabhuji.
Diana.
That's nice. Yes.
Some
Yeah,
other
fantastic.
countries. Thank you
Yes.
for joining us today. Any questions? Yeah, Santa Vigra Prabhu, you have any question? Please speak. Yes, Prabhuji.
I've unmuted you, Prabhuji. You can ask your question. Yes. We are unable to hear.
Can you spotlight both of us? I don't know why there's.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. I'll just spot.
Okay, fine. Yes, Santa Vigra Prabhu, please
Am I
speak.
audible now?
Yes,
Yes.
you're audible now. Yes.
Like our class, and it seems that the cowherd boys, they are also extremely powerful, and in themselves they are capable of defeating any of these demons who come into Vrindavan.
Who?
But yet they default
cowherd boys.
to steal from Krishna.
No, that's
Is
the
it
first
more-
point I didn't understand.
I'm saying that it seems that each of the cowherd boys,
Oh,
as you
yeah,
were
yeah.
describing, are
Yes.
extremely powerful in themselves. They could have defeated any demon.
Yes.
But it seems that their nature is that they default that to Krishna.
Yes.
They look. I found that quite interesting.
So what is the question?
It's just that observation. I
Okay.
can observe.
So the observation is very valid, but why they're not killing all the demons and why Krishna is killing all the demons? Because they want Krishna to be glorified. Hanuman was also powerful. He could have killed Ravan there and there itself. Why he did not kill Ravan? Because he wanted his Lord Ram to get the glory of killing Ravan. Devotees want to glorify the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord want to give glories to his devotees. But finally, the Lord devotees are so humble. They offer all the glories to their beloved Lord. Always. They were coward boys like Mandali Bhadra. They were little older coward boys, little bit older to Krishna. And they were trained by Mother Yashoda. And they would carry swords and big rods. And they would walk by Krishna on both sides. And they would watch for tigers, watch for lions, watch for demons. And they were trained to attack first without any fear. So they were very strong. And also last time you must have heard the story. You can hear Brahma Vimon Lila again. I sent you the lectures, I think. So in that Brahma Vimon Lila also we explained that the coward boys were so strong. They could have made the whole Brahma Loka, slide down and slip off from the position and get under the ground of earthly planet. They said, we can slip off the Brahma Loka from its position and make Brahma Loka go underground on earthly planet. But that is not the plan of the Lord. Let plan of the Lord be revealed and we will just sleep now. We will not do anything, any mischief over here. But we will take the account of Balram, Brahmaji. We'll take the account of Balramji when we come down. When he brings us down by the mercy of the Lord, someday he will bring us down anyways. When we will be brought down, that time we'll take revenge on Brahma. And how they took revenge on Brahma also is explained in the discussion that we had on last 3 Mondays. Hare Krishna. Yes,
Just one more. Yes.
Yeah,
I've
yeah, sure. Yes, Premanand Prabhu, please ask.
I've unmuted you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare
Yes.
Krishna. So we regularly hear that persons are receiving the mercy of the Lord just by being in his presence, seeing him.
Someone is talking, I think. Go ahead, Prabhuji, go ahead.
So yeah, so the grass is receiving mercy as Krishna walk and the trees and so on. So I'm wondering, what are the varieties of mercies are being received by everybody? For example, if I am there, I am thinking of something material or spiritual, or he looks at my deepest wish or what is best for me. How is the mercy being spread out?
Like the touch part is given to the blades of grass. So the touch is a way of mercy for blade of grass. The sound is the way of mercy for the birds who are making sounds. The glances are for those who are watching him, and they are watching. He's watching them, like the deers are watching him. He's watching them, and his kada karishasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam. His merciful glance is showering on everybody. And some people he is holding by their hands and embracing them. Some people he is throwing his glances on them. So variety of things. And when these are all perceived, only when we become highly advanced, our senses become very pure, then we are able to perceive this subtle way of mercy that Lord is giving. At one point of time, the things that are happening in our life are also perceived by us as mercy of the Lord. And most of the times they are painful conditions of life. But a devotee who is sincere and purified, he also feels from within that those painful events are actually the merciful intervention of my Lord in my life. So one is the ways of five senses that the Lord will express his mercy. And at times he will go beyond the five senses and give you a perception in your mind in the form of an emotion. So that is the Lord's variety of what Lord cannot do. Lord can express his mercy through varieties of gross and subtle ways. And the highest blessing is when you receive a realization in your heart by the mercy of the Lord. And the most painful thing in your life turns out to be perceived by you as mercy, as ecstasy. That is the highest blessing of the Lord. Because the embrace, the glance may not last long, but the realization will last long with you. It will remain with you. Darshan may also be there for a few seconds, like Dhruva Maharaj had a few second darshan. And then Lord said, I will now go away from you. Narad Muni in the previous life also had darshan for a few seconds. And the Lord said, I will never be seen to you again. You will hanker for me.
Yes.
But Prabhupada said, I am never not seeing the Lord. What does that mean? That is the ultimate vision. The realization that you have and you see Krishna everywhere. Krishna is not only temporarily in front of you. So we are not hankering for Lord's darshan or Lord's touch. It's good if we get it, but we are hankering for that eternal realization that Lord is everywhere. You see him, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Sandaha Sadaiva Rudayeshu Vilokayanti. That is the highest blessing of the Lord, highest kripa, highest mercy of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
So you are saying that our desire may be satisfied as the mercy depending on how devoted we are.
That is true. To the degree of your devotion, of our dedication, of our surrender, to that degree the blessing will come upon. And in absolute sense, the blessing is always there with you. It's a time that separates us and when we will realize it. When we will become purified, you will realize it. My mother is very kind upon me. But in childhood, when she arranged for an injection to be given to me by 4 strong men, I was thinking my mother is a demon. She's the cruelest person on the earth who is poking me with injection with 4 strong men holding me. But as you grow, in sense, as you purify yourself and you grow up, you understand that is my mother's mercy. So my mother was always merciful to me, but I only realized when I became mature. So my Lord's mercy was always on me, but I realized it only when I became purified.
I see. Thank you very much. Very bold.
Hey, Rebold. Any
That's so
other
beautiful.
question?
Yeah, nobody's raised their hands.
Any other
That was-
question? Anybody else? Okay. So with these few words, I will offer my pranams to all the devotees. Thank you so much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.
Thank you.